The detailed report by the Supreme Court explaining why President Uhuru Kenyatta's win was nullified came hard on the electoral body IEBC. The majority of the 7th judge bench observed that the IEBC failed to comply with the Elections Act and the Constitution in conducting the elections. According to the judges, there were illegalities and irregularities committed by the electoral body which rendered the results questionable.
The court had also ordered IEBC to provide the petitioners with the login trail of users and equipment into the IEBC servers, the login trails of users and equipment into the KEMS database management systems, and the administrative access login into the IEBC public portal between the 5th of August 2017 to date, being the date of the court order, which was the 28th August 2017. These were also not provided. Instead, IEBC provided pre-downloaded logs in a hard disk, whose source it refused to disclose.
We disagree with the council that this is not in the act and that it was as a result of abundance of caution taken by IEBC. If that was the case, then the what? All the forms should have the features, the security features that IEBC itself devised, and there is no reasonable explanation given why some should not have and some should have.
While the petitioner bears an evidentiary burden to adduce factual evidence to prove his or allegations of breach, then the burden shifts and it behoves the respondent to adduce evidence to prove compliance with the law.
Some of the illegalities and irregularities that were raised by the petitioner and which the IEBC could not debunk in their response include announcement of unverified results, transmission of defective Form 34As and Form 34Bs, as well as failure to comply with the court order directing scrutiny of the IEBC servers. The judges questioned the motive of announcing final results before all Form 34As and Form 34Bs had been compiled.
Given the fact that all Forms 34B were generated from the aggregates of Forms 34A, there can be no logical explanation as to why, in tallying the Forms 34B into Form 34C, this primary document, Form 34A, was completely disregarded. Even if one were to argue, which at any rate is not the case here, that the verification was done against the original Forms 34A from all the polling stations, which had been manually ferried to the tallying center, this would still beg the question as to whether the scanned forms were and why, as to where the scanned forms were and why the manually transmitted ones arrived faster than the electronic ones. The failure by the first respondent to verify the results in consultation with the second respondent before the latter declared them, therefore, went against the expectations of Article 138(3)(c) of the Constitution, just as the failure to electronically and simultaneously transmit the results from all the polling stations to the National Tallying Center violated the provisions of Section 39(1)(c) of the Elections Act. These violations of the Constitution and the law call into serious doubt as to whether the said election can be said to have been a free expression of the will of the people as contemplated by Article 38 of our Constitution.
The electoral body also failed to convince judges how over 800,000 voters only voted for the presidential and not other elective position. IEBC's failure to discredit the claims of the petitioner left the judges with no option but to conclude that the electoral process was not free, fair, verifiable and accountable. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.